Well, as we get started, I have 3 questions for you. And if your answer to any of these questions is a yes, please drop it in the chat. Put a yes in the chat if you have ever failed, if you ever tried to convince your team to support your recommendation but failed. You went to your team and you're like, here's what I think we should do. And they're like, nah, we're not going to do that. Put a yes in the chat if that's happened to you. You've gone to your team to try to convince them to support your idea but failed. Yes, yes, yes. I see a lot of exclamation marks. Yep, always. Yeah, that's definitely happened to me many times. Now, put a yes in the chat if you aren't sure how to get buy-in from stakeholders. You're not sure how to approach your manager to get your manager's attention on a proposal that you want to push forward. You're not sure how to rally a difficult stakeholder and get their attention and win their respect. Yes, 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 yes. All right, well, we're going to dive into that today. And finally, put a yes in the chat if you want your ideas taken seriously. You want stakeholders to come to you and to get your opinion. You want your team to be excited about implementing your ideas. Yes, yes. Oh, wow. It's like exclamation marks, capital letters, like for sure, yes. I struggled with all of these things and wanted all of these things. Hi, everyone. I am Shivani Berry. I am the CEO and founder of Ascend, where we offer an online leadership program for women to help you excel in your careers. I started Ascend because when I was moving up to management, I struggled to get buy-in. I struggled to rally stakeholders, advocate for myself, all the challenges that you're facing today. And, I learned this primarily through a lot of blow-ups, a lot of mistakes. And so I wanted to create the leadership program that I wish I had access to help me move up in my career faster. And now we've had graduates from all around the world, from top companies, come out of the program feeling more confident, being able to drive better alignment, and being able to get promoted faster. Our mission at Ascend is to elevate 10,000 women into leadership. It's a big way we're going to create the change that we need to see in today's workplaces. And I created it because I realized that we all know that we need to get people invested in our ideas. We need to get people, we need to be able to push back against them. We need to have the confidence to speak up. But we often don't, either because 1, we don't know how to, 2, we don't carve out the time, or 3, we're scared because practicing these skills at work is high stakes. If you make a mistake, it can hurt your reputation or worse. That's why I created Ascend's leadership program to create a safe space for women like you to push yourself out of your comfort zone and be able to learn these skills with a group of high achieving women in a sustainable manner that actually builds lasting habits to help you lead and influence at all levels. And we're doing it. For example, Diana at SAP joined the program shortly after she returned from maternity leave. And she was able to use the program tools to drive better alignment in meetings. So much so that she quickly got promoted after the program and credited the program helping her do so. So today we are going to talk about how to influence. It's a big skill to help you move up. And before I do that, I have a question for you. Why do you think some people ascend in their careers, but others don't? Why do you think some people get promoted faster, move up faster, but others don't? Drop that in the chat. Why do you think some people ascend in their careers, move up faster than others? Visibility, yep. Right place, right time. And really, they know how to advocate for themselves, grit, networking, yes. Sponsorship, yes. These are all right. And, the biggest factor that people have is around the leaders at the top are really skilled at influencing. They know how to be able to get people to follow their ideas, even when situations are tough. And so today we're going to talk about what are specific tactics you can use to help you achieve that. And why is it that important? I'm going to go through specific strategies that you can use. And at the end, we'll do Q&A. So as we go through it, if you have any questions, drop it in the Q&A tab that is a couple tabs over from the chat. And then you can add or upload any questions, and we'll dive into that at the end. And I want this to be fun and interactive. So if anything resonates with you, say it in the chat. If you dealt with something, say it in the chat. This is a really fun and valuable time that we have together. And so, as we talk about influencing, if you think about it, it makes sense that the leaders at the top are skilled at influencing. Because as a manager, you don't actually do the work. you guide your team to do the work. It's similar to a conductor at a symphony. She's not playing the music herself. She guides the musicians to play beautiful music. So if you want to achieve what the leaders at the top have achieved, then you need to be able to influence also, similar to them. Get people to follow along with you. So I learned this the hard way. This is my team and I. So I used to be a product manager, and I'm so excited to come back to Women in Product because it's been a community that I've benefited a lot from. And I'm excited to be able to give back and help all of you excel in your careers. And I really realized that it was my ability to influence that helped me move up and become a leader in product. And really a leader throughout the organization. But I learned it the hard way. This is, my team and I were leading, I was responsible for leading a really important product initiative for our company. It was our company OKRs. We had a lot of, there was a lot of friction within our team around how ambitious it was making people nervous. We didn't have trust. And, it was only when I learned how to get buy-in, how to influence them, how to gain their support, that we were able to work well together. So this is my team and I celebrating a successful product launch. But I promise you, we would not have been all smiles if I had not learned how to influence. Because the thing is, great ideas aren't enough. You have to know how to get people bought in. And so, if you think about it this way, your team has a marketing and sales department, even though your company has a great product. Yet, your company invests in marketing and sales to show people the benefits of your product. Even Apple, you're probably using one or more of Apple's devices right now. Apple spends over $2 billion on marketing a year. If Apple has to market its products, you have to market your ideas. This is not I have a great idea, people will follow. It's not Field of Dreams. You have to break it down for people. Why should they follow your ideas? Why is it so important? And so, around this time, I often hear, yeah, but it just feels like there's a secret language. Some people are just born with it. They know how to influence. They know how to get people on board. Well, the good news is there is no secret language. Anyone can learn it. There is a step-by-step formula that you can follow. But there's not something that we're not naturally born with it. You can hone it too. And it doesn't have to feel icky. It doesn't have to feel inauthentic. It can actually be very organic and very sustainable and friendly. And the way you learn it, it's like baking a cake. Initially, you had no idea what you were doing. But then you followed a recipe. You got the ingredients. You followed it step by step, adding ingredient number 1, ingredient number 2, putting it in the oven. And your first couple cakes probably sucked. But the more you practice, the more you got better at it. And it's the same thing with influencing. The more you practice how to influence, you'll become a master of it. Let me share a real life example. This is Althea. She is a product manager, and she joined Ascend's leadership program because at that time she was really struggling to work with a couple of difficult stakeholders, including her CTO, who was a dominant personality. And being in product, the CTO was a key stakeholder for Althea. He wasn't respecting her ideas. He wasn't taking her seriously. She was getting cut out of meetings. It was hurting her career growth. So she used Ascend's tools to help drive better alignment in meetings. She practiced in the role plays in a safe space on giving the CTO feedback about their interactions, about how, when they interacted, how difficult it was, how negative it was. Can you imagine telling someone that? The conversation went so well that it transformed the relationship. Now he seeks her opinion out proactively. Isn't that the dream, right? And so you can do that too. Before we talk about how you can get buy-in, I want to talk to you about why we fail to get buy-in. Because when we fail to get buy-in, it hurts our career growth. It's stressful. It impacts our ability to move up and impacts our ability to be successful in projects. We fail to get buy-in for 3 big reasons. 1, we think the right answer is obvious. We think the context that we have, what we're solving for, is the same thing that everybody else is. We forget everyone has different contexts. That was a big mistake I made with my team when we're working on that product initiative. 2, We're up against a time crunch. We are up against a project deadline. We don't have enough time to get by. I don't have time to go talk to that person. And 3, fear of dissent. We think someone's going to push back. Our engineering manager is going to say no. This cross-functional partner is going to have concerns. So before they can push back and stop us from doing this, I'm just going to sneak this right through. You've probably done one or more of these. And so now that we know why we fail to get buy-in, let's talk about how you can actually get buy-in. Because when we fail to get buy-in, you might be able to think it through once, maybe twice, but it's a very short-term outcome. People aren't going to trust you. You're not going to be seen as someone collaborative, and you're not going to be able to drive meaningful projects forward. You're going to have problems in your projects very, very quickly. And so to help us get buy-in, we want to, follow the Ascend framework to get buy-in. And here it is around first, building your allies, storytelling, co-creating, empathetic listening. This is when people hear this are like, yeah, listening. I know I definitely did when I first heard about empathetic listening. But thing is, people can tell when you're not listening, because I have a habit of like, I ask a question, I'm already thinking about what I'm going to say next, even before that person can respond. And so people can tell that's happening. And so it's really important to listen, to build that rapport, and also get in critical information. Having numbers and data to back up your statements. So it's not just you're asking someone to do something because you said so. And demeanor, your presence. So you can use this framework up, down, and across to help you win over cross-functional partners, your peers, your reports, senior stakeholders. And to help you apply this, there is a link at the bottom of the screen where you can download the Get Buy-in checklist to help you apply this on a day-to-day, even after today's session. So today, what we're going to focus on is storytelling, co-creation, demeanor. 3 of the ones that people struggle with the most and have the biggest impact. So let's dive in. First, storytelling. Storytelling is something that Ascenders, participants in the leadership program, really love the most, because they know that great leaders are great storytellers. And here it's really thinking about because storytelling brings people together to inspire and motivate them. And when you think about it, around it, the best leaders know how to get you to follow them even when things are hard. And there's 2 parts of it to be a great storyteller. First is your message. How do you create a narrative that resonates with your audience? That makes it easy for people to follow along, that makes it clear to them why they should care about it. In the leadership program, we spent over a week practicing the storytelling. And Ascenders really think about who's my audience? What do I have to think about? How do I structure my message in a way that captures their attendance, their attention? And, what do I do if I'm going to lose it or they're pushing back? Now, once you have your message down, which is really, really critical, then I want you to think about delivery. Because delivery is really what hits your message home. Put a yes in the chat if you are guilty of rambling a lot. You tend to add a lot of backstory, add a lot of context. Put a yes in the chat if you are guilty of that and you need to be more concise. Yes, right here. Yes, 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 yes. Well, this is for you. So here's 3 tips that you can use to be concise. First, cut the jargon and backstory. Think about, you don't need to use fancy words. Keep it simple. Make it easy to understand. And then cut the backstory. So for that, everyone has really short attention spans, especially these days. Think about what is the most critical information this person needs to know? They can always ask questions. You can always put things in the appendix to pull information up. Second, share a roadmap. Share an agenda up front, and then number your points. Rational number 1, rational number 2, rational number 3. This has 2 big benefits. First, it helps you think more linearly, makes it easier for you to structure your comments, your ideas in a way that is really clear about how you're coming across and how you're thinking about it. 2, it makes it easier to follow. And so always share a roadmap and number your points around it, and it'll help you naturally be more concise. And third is use active phrases instead of passive ones. For example, saying deadlines are missed too often is not very compelling. But saying we must hit this deadline is way stronger, way more action oriented. So let me share with you storytelling in action. This is Kendall. She's a product marketing manager at Box. About week 3 of the leadership program, she got dropped into a last minute meeting that her manager could no longer attend. It was a really important meeting because they were using this meeting to get budget from some senior stakeholders. Now, we've all been in last minute meetings. You know how she's feeling right now. Dread, stress, really nervous. She's like, this has to go correctly. On top of that, she was meeting with a difficult stakeholder who seemed to kind of ignore her in meetings. So what did she do? She used the Send's message preparation worksheet to help her get ready for the meeting. Even though she only had 1 hour, she used to think through, like, what does she really need to get out of the meeting? How does she need to position her ideas? In that meeting, she was able to proactively, because of the prep that she'd done, even in that short amount of time, she was able to proactively address the concerns of everybody in that room, show why they needed that budget. It was so effective that she got a yes from everyone by the end of the 30-minute meeting, including that difficult stakeholder, which had never happened before. She came out of the meeting feeling much more confident and empowered than she ever had been. I share a story to highlight that when you know how to influence, when you know how to storytell, then you can do it in any situation, even last minute meetings. That in itself is a huge, huge confidence booster. Because you know that no matter what situation I get dropped into, I can handle myself. I can show up strongly. I can be persuasive. Now let's talk about demeanor. You can also think about it as presence. And we've all gotten feedback at some point or the other about whether we have it or not. And so here it's thinking about, and presence is a really elusive trait. It's hard to define. It's how people perceive you, how your stakeholders perceive you, how your colleagues perceive you. You can really boil it down to self-confidence. It's your ability to own the room. And so here, especially in moments of stress, people are firing a lot of questions at you. Are you able to answer them in a composed manner? Now, presence is made up of verbal and nonverbal cues. For example, put a yes in the chat if you are guilty of saying sorry for the sake of it. Sorry, I have an idea. Sorry, I have a quick question. Sorry, I just have something to add. Put a yes in the chat if you're guilty of saying sorry for the sake of it. One of our senders, Kendi, when we're going through this in the program, she's like, oh, I say sorry all the time, even when I bump into a coffee table. 100%, yes, sorry, yes, still breaking the sorry habit. Too often. All right, well, this is for you. Instead of saying sorry, use these following phrases instead. Instead of saying sorry to bother you, do you have a minute? Why are you apologizing to your colleague who you're working on a project with? To ask them to help you on, or to talk to them about a project that you have together. They're not doing you a favor. Sorry, I messed up. I'll fix that now. Sorry, I didn't realize. Thanks for pointing that out. Sorry, I didn't understand. Can you help me understand? Maybe you didn't understand, or maybe that person didn't explain it properly. If you're guilty of not being clear, so are other people. The words we use shape how we perceive ourselves and how others perceive us. So that's why it's so important to be mindful of this. For example, a sender, Natalie, who is a senior engineer at Salesforce, when we were going through this, realized, oh, I just say sorry a lot. So she used these replacement phrases, and within 2 weeks, she started getting comments from her team, her manager being like, there's something different about you. You're much more confident. Nothing had changed besides the words that she used. And so being really mindful of how you come across is really, really important and helpful to help you come across as more impactful, more confident, and help you influence. And the third one is co-creation. Co-creation is, about getting people on the same page as you. It is you being genuinely interested in collaborating. And so, co-creation is not sending someone a deck at 5 p.m. for further feedback for a 9 a.m. meeting the next day. That's checking the box. Co-creation means that you are actually creating time for real debate, discussion, and buy-in. It means that you are actually like taking the time to get their input, incorporating it. Especially because you don't need to come up with the best idea. You need to execute on the best idea. So you work with smart, successful people with diverse input. And especially as a product manager, you need the engineers, designers, other people to push projects forward. And so it's really, really important for you to co-create here to create the best outcome. I definitely learned that the hard way. When you co-create, you create better outcomes. People are and feel invested in the outcome. So when there are issues on the project, they don't throw you under the bus. They're like, no, we came with this together. We'll figure this out together. Now you can apply co-creation in any situation. So whether you're trying to get support on a recommendation, whether you're giving a project update and you're trying to align people on how make sure everyone's convinced that the project is going well, whether you are trying to get support for more resources, even advocate for yourself. You're co-creating to like, hey, it's not just like I want to go speak in this meeting because I want to. It's actually going to be helpful for the team. Here's why I deserve the promotion. Here's why I'm making this ask. Co-creating helps with all of that. And one of the more difficult situations to co-create with is with dominant personalities. Put a yes in the chat if you have struggled to work with dominant personalities. So these are people who don't respect us, who we often find intimidating. I know I definitely had my share working with dominant personalities, and it's stressful, it's intense, it's nerve-wracking. I dread it. My chest tightens. Yes, 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 many times, yes. Sometimes it's submissive too. Yeah, they can make me question my competence. They can make me feel small. The thing is, it's important to know how to work with these difficult stakeholders because we don't get to pick who we work with. And so knowing how to work with difficult stakeholders is really, really important. And to help you win over these dominant personalities, it's really important to first win their respect. Nothing else matters if you can't do this. And so here it's thinking about, first like building credibility right off the bat. Why are you someone that they should listen to? What experience do you bring to the table? What successes have you had? What knowledge do you have around this? Showcasing that. And then always, showing data. You're not saying an idea for the sake of it. Showing like, why is this the right idea that they should approach? To help you win their respect, you can leverage allies. So your manager, cross-functional partners, people that they respect. Your manager being like, Chloe is a point person on this from our team. If you need any input or decisions, please go to her. Carries a lot of weight. Or them speaking up and someone in the meeting be like, you've had a lot of experience in this. What do you think? The last thing I'll say about working with dominant personalities is to not take it personally. When someone pushes back on you, when someone seems to ignore you, it's often not even about you. They might have something going on in their personal life that they're stressed out about. Or maybe they're under pressure at work. If this project is really important for them to make sure that they are able to get promoted. Or they're under pressure from their manager to make sure that they hit the revenue target. Or this project rolls out on time. Or maybe they don't even realize how they're making you feel. Now, none of this makes it okay, but recognizing this is not about me can be empowering in itself. So with knowing how to co-create, and this is something that we dive into a lot in the leadership program and really practice around. And with that, I want to share a story with you around why knowing how to co-create is so important and how it can be actually very, very impactful for you. So this is Satang. She is a senior program manager at Twilio. And she, about shortly after the program, she needed to get more budget for her team. So she co-created with the allies, with some of the executives, some other people on the finance team to drive that forward. And she was able to use the tools to convince her CFO. So this is a massive public company. She was able to convince the CFO to give her an additional $1 million in funding. And that only happened because she knew how to influence. She felt confident speaking up. She was able to position her idea in a way that really resonated with people, and she was able to land that funding. That is the power of knowing how to influence. That is the power of knowing how to co-create. And the beauty of that also is like, remember, when you co-create, people are in it with you. When problems happen, they don't throw you under the bus because they're like, we decided this together. They're invested in the outcome. And that makes you so, so much more powerful. So in summary, around to help you get buy-in, we've covered the Ascend framework to get buy-in around storytelling, co-creation, and demeanor. In Ascend, we're all about action. So I want you to take a moment right now and think about what's one thing you need to do to improve on influencing stakeholders. Maybe it's your engineering manager, maybe it's your designer, maybe it is your manager, a cross-functional partner, executives. What's one thing you need to improve on to influence stakeholders? And drop that in the chat. Maybe it's around like, I need to be better at storytelling. I need to know how to co-create. I need to have better presence. I need to stop saying sorry. I need to have more confidence in sharing my ideas. I need to more strategically go get buy-in. So drop that in the chat. What is one thing you need to do to be better at influencing? And while you do that, I'm going to play you some music. Data to prove my point. I need to stop saying sorry. Yep. Data. Yeah, these are really good. So yeah, don't overthink it. Drop in the chat. What's one thing you need to do to improve influencing stakeholders? Co-creation. Yep. Simplify storytelling. Yeah, making it really easy for people to like follow what you're saying. Remember, people have short attention spans. About 20 seconds more, and then we'll come back together. So drop in the chat. These are all really, really good. What's one thing you can do to help you improve influencing stakeholders? Follow through my idea, getting to the right audience. Yep. Great. I love all of these. And so, now as we're thinking through it, I want you to, now that you have these frameworks, and these are proven frameworks that ascenders from all these companies and many more have applied to their work and seen big results, including being able to drive better alignment in meetings, being able to work cross-functionally, winning over difficult stakeholders. So they're now allies for them, using it to get promoted, to be part of the conversation. So if you're like, I want to be at the conversation in the decision-making process instead of hearing about it afterwards. I want to be able to get people to follow my ideas and be excited about following my ideas. These are the frameworks you want to use. So to help you with that, check out the Get Buy-in checklist. I also dropped it in the chat. It's the same link that's at the bottom, and Chloe had shared it earlier too. So check this out. This covers the framework, the steps that we just talked about right now. And so you can use this on a regular basis at work. And so, I want you to make sure that you're not just applying it right now in the workshop, but continuing to apply it on a daily basis to help you get buy-in on product road mapping, to help you get buy-in on making sure people are aware of like how our project is progressing, on your own career growth. So you can check that out around it. And as you do that, I'd love to dive into any questions that you might have. So feel free to drop in any questions in the Q&A tab, and then we can dive into any questions. So I see a question there right now: is where's a safe place to practice this buy-in? Is the office too high of stakes? Great question, and I would say definitely not. So I think it really depends. So first, doing role plays and practicing this is a big reason why I started the leadership program. So ascenders have found it a really effective way for them to practice these skills in a safe space where they don't have to worry about things getting blown up, where they can get like real candid advice. And then once you're ready with that, then it's like practicing them at work. So, and I would pick lower stake situations to practice getting buy-in. So for example, asking to push back a project deadline for a project that isn't that important, or that time sensitive. That way, if the person says no, it's not a big deal, but you'll still feel really nervous as you're asking for the extension. So you start getting comfortable with those feelings. Another great place to like practice, getting support is with your family, and really just with teammates who are going to be like easier to support. And they say no, or if they say no, it's not a big deal. And then you work your way up. But the thing is, like, sometimes we don't have the option of when we want to get buy-in. If you want to be seen as someone who's really strategic, if you want to be seen as someone who can drive high impact, you need to know how to get buy-in. So knowing and building this muscle in a very quick manner is extremely, extremely important, especially in the product world, especially in your roles where your success is dependent on how well you can influence. Thanks so much for asking that. And I would definitely, as you're going through the get buy-in checklist, like apply it to all as you go through project. Be like, okay, am I listening? When do I need to co-create? When do I need to storytell? Who are my allies going to be? What are your suggestions for those of us who aren't great with the on-the-fly responses? E.g., we are confident when we're over-prepared and try to think through all the potential scenarios, but we won't always know what people will ask. Yeah, for sure. I think that it's reflective of so many of us, and thank you for asking that. So, it's hard to always predict what people are going to share. That being said, you can actually prepare for more meetings, even last-minute meetings, than you think you can. So that story I shared with you about Kendall from Box, she got dropped into a last-minute meeting. She had an hour to prepare to ask for more budget. And she was able to use the tools to help her think through, like, hey, what is my audience going to care about? What are their concerns going to be? And so when you build that muscle around thinking through, like, what these critical questions, you're going to be much more ready in that meeting, even when people are asking things on the spot. The other thing is recognizing it's okay if you always don't have the perfect answer. You can always say, let me get back to you on that. When people ask us questions, we often feel a need to be like, I have to answer this now. No, that's not always the case. Someone asks you like, hey, can you do this data pull for me? Or what do you think about this? Or what were the results for this? And we feel like we don't say the answer, then we're going to be seen as incompetent, or we don't know things and they're not going to trust us. But actually you being able to be like, I don't know, but here's the plan, or let me follow up with you, is really powerful. And so I'd say it's like recognizing that you don't always need to know the answer on the fly. Second is doing that preparation. And we talk about a lot of that in the program. And the third thing that I really like is actually having a backup question to ask in the moment. So something like, tell me more. Because the thing is, when we are asked questions, we often feel attacked. And so while you're still trying to calm your nerves down, asking a question like, tell me more, will give you some time to calm your nerves, and you'll get more information to understand where are they coming from so you can better answer their question. So you walk through your idea for what you should prioritize as a product feature. And someone on your team is like, but have you thought about this other idea? Or why is this idea better than this other feature that we're considering? Or why are we even like, how does this help achieve our goals? And you're like, I feel like I'm losing them. Instead of, getting really nervous in that moment and losing control, asking something like, can you tell me more where you're coming from? Or that's a great question, let me get back to you on it, will help you stay composed in the moment. You're still able to answer the question, but do it in a way that you really build more of that credibility and people really trust what you're saying. These are really great questions. And, something around that is, what I really want to, another question is around, how do you stay calm in these moments? And that's exactly, what we were just talking about, like your ability to hold yourself in high pressure situations really impacts your reputation. It impacts whether or not people will give you more highly strategic roles, high impact projects. And so using the tools that we've talked about today is really, really helpful. And so even being conscious of the words that you are using is important. So in these pressure situations, if you're someone who's just like apologizing all the time, that loses credibility. So really being able to like practice and thinking about what other situations can go wrong will help you be more composed in the moment, even if you're getting a lot of questions thrown at you, even if you're feeling nervous, even when you're with difficult stakeholders. That preparation in advance goes a really, really long way around it. So these are awesome questions. Thank you so much for joining. I love the energy in the chat. It was so good. And so I will stick around for any more questions, and I hope you enjoy the conference. I see some people want to come up, so let's see if you, Corinne. Corinne, if you'd like to ask a question, you can unmute yourself. Okay. And so thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Check out that Get Buy-in checklist that I just shared in the chat, and it's also at the bottom of underneath the screen. Feel free to reach out to me with any additional questions. I would love to stay in touch, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this conference. Good luck influencing, and I'm so glad that you were here. Bye, everyone. Take care.